Hello everyone. In this talk, we are going to talk about GitHub Copilot. We'll also try to touch upon a couple of various points like how it works, how it, how and what data it sends to the backend servers, and get the suggestion out of it. And then we will try to wrap up with a quick demo. Yeah, moving ahead. So first of all, what is GitHub Copilot? GitHub Copilot is a AI-powered coding assistant. So what it does is it in turn takes all the inputs from you, and based on that it tries to give you suggestions. It is, as we all know, it is built on GPT foundations, which is worked upon by GitHub and OpenAI. And yeah, it also the benefit of it is it tries to help you with the process of writing code faster, and at the same time enables you with or enables or equip with a lot of context about what the code is doing, and at the same time try to do a number of other things like code coverage and whatnot. Moving on, where does this fit? So, you know, there might be a question how this internally works, right? So we first thing that we have to consider is it based out of NLP. It tries to understand the context of the code, right, that you are trying to write first hand. Then it is trained on billions of lines of code from open source. So example, suppose it tries to actually find or it's kind of a pattern matching thing you can think of, where it tries to find, hey, this is something which you are trying to write. It tries, and it is already trained on top of that code. It is trying to give that as a suggestion, right? It generate the code suggestion in real time based on whatever it had learned. And yeah, now with GitHub increasing its scope, earlier it was only there in VS Code and Visual Studio. Now it's there in JetBrains IDE and other IDs also. We'll try to cover it in the further slides. Moving ahead, how does this work? So a person is writing a code in the IDE. Then at one point of time, the person would be opening a tab, and so what GitHub Copilot does is it tries to find the context out of it. Suppose example, I am on this tab, it would understand, hey, it would have the context of this specific file, and at the same time the subsequent tabs which are opened, right? So GitHub Copilot does understand, like, okay, if suppose I'm working on a feature, I would be having, I would say, couple of tabs open which are kind of interlinked, right? So it tries to work with that principle, and it tries to get the context out of it, send it to the OpenAI GPT 3.5 Turbo's APIs, and get the suggestion back. I would suggest this is very black. It's kind of a black box where n number of other workflows and operation works or being done. Uh, for this discussion, I will just try to keep it as a single entity which translates the context, calling a API and getting the suggestions for you. Moving ahead. Now, a generic question would come, what the context would have, right? So as discussed in the previous slide, the context will have the current file inference. It would understand like what you are trying to write or what is being written already in that file. It not only takes the cursor input, at the same time it would have the entirety of the file with it, right? The second thing, as we already discussed, it would be having the nearby, or the, I would say, neighboring tabs relevance. It would try to assume that would be having very high priority of, or better to say, high chances of, getting the context out of it, what you are trying to write on. Third thing, with this new plugin, I think a few months back it was not there. With this new plugin, we will see in the upcoming slide in further in the video, like it would try to give you the references by which it has generated a output, right? So that sometimes helps, to understand. It's not like this Copilot is hallucinating and giving some random outputs, but is actually trying to figure out from certain number of files that it has context on. Now let's discuss about advantages. We all know it helps a big time to us, saving. It's a time saver for sure by generating a code in real time. So suppose as and when I'm writing a code, it would understand what I'm trying to write, and based on that, it would give me a suggestion. And n number of times I've seen even my personal coding, um, you know, it helped me a lot, right? Mostly when it comes to generating unit test cases, and at the same time, generating some kind of a boilerplate code, which is a day-to-day task of all the developers. Yeah, it. helps in big time there. Going further, second thing, it improves code readability, and at the same time it improves consistency of the code being written, right? I'll take both examples, right? So suppose example, now with GitHub Copilot, it's very easier for us to document things. The thing is, it's not only improve the readability, at the same time it improves the consistency. Suppose example, there is a specific way a code is written in the workspace for you. It tries to mimic that kind of that kind of a coding function that we use, and try to generate the code based on that. Next thing is reduction of error, right? Sometimes we have seen like a code is being written and we want to simplify it further, right? We have that functions enabled in Copilot where it just you can mention, hey, I want to simplify this, and it would give you a simplified version of that code. It helps a big time, in learning opportunity for developers. And number of times, suppose example, I'm owning a feature or a charter for us, or maybe it can be a possibility I'm joining a new org, right? Every org have a different way of, I would say, how the coding practices are, and at the same time onboarding takes its own learning curve, right? So it helps there. I can just go to a file, or I can go to a feature, and I can say, hey, explain me this, and it would be, it is, I've seen in the past, n number of times I've seen this. It helped me a lot, uh, in all areas, while explanation of the new code, or even if suppose I have to write a new code, I just some kind of a boilerplate I have to generate. Suppose example, I have to convert something to JSON, parse something out of JSON. It helps a lot in those areas. Moving ahead, yeah, availabilities. As I already discussed, now it's in beta in JetBrains ID, and in this video, what we are trying to do is we are trying to give you that glimpse of the beta, how it works, and let's learn together. Moving ahead to the demo. Yeah, so you will see a tab here, right? This tab is something which you are looking for when you want to talk to Copilot chat. Let's start with a explain feature maybe. We'll just have to type as explain /explain, and what it would do is it would take the open file context, which is in our case breed list view model, and it would try to generate the response for you. The response would be having a detailed version of what this class does, and each and every method segregated in a well-mannered description, right? If you see here, yeah, this is the class it is generating. It is saying like it is having a handle method, it is having a get list callback, it is having n number of methods and what it does. So one good thing here is it's not only saying at a big block, right? At a big block level, it doesn't say you like, okay, this is what this class does, but instead what it does, it tries to break it or simplify it further and give you a response based on each of this thing. We have this another thing which is test. Suppose example, I have to write generate test case for this. Yeah, right, using Mockito as a framework. I'll just type using Mockito framework. Let's Copilot do this magic. Uh, yeah, so if you see here, what I'm trying to do is I have not written the test case for this. So example, I just go ahead and write, hey, I want to write the test case for this, right? So if you see, it takes care of all this thing, initialization. It understands first of all what all test cases can be covered as part of this UT, right, for us. And at the same time, it tries to generate mocks. It tries to, whatnot. It tries to create repo mocks, everything here. It also takes care of, it tries to create nearby, 100% code coverage which we have. Yeah, that's something which will help, a lot of dev, right? It also gives you a couple of prompts, something like this, what is the function of this specific class, which is a factory for us. It just tells it is kind of a, factory for creating instances for read list view model. Yeah, now let's come to simplify. Let's try to get some code selected. I want to simplify this method. I'll just say it. I just /simplify. It would try to create a simplified version of this. Looking directly at this method, I think one thing which can be done is it can be broken down into multiple segregated different functions, right? Yeah, I think that's what it is trying to do. If you see, it is calling a view scope.launch, and then yeah, it is breaking it into multiple segments. Like, okay, when a success or a error response comes, based on that, it is trying to bifurcate it is trying to, create multiple atomic methods out of it. Let's move on to another thing, which is fix. It can be possible, sometimes we have written a code which might be error prone. So we can just use this slash fix and it would give you if it's fixable, if it's any, it detects any issue. For our code, I think it didn't find any issue. Cool. Yeah, I think that's the end. Thanks everyone for, you know, bearing with me. I hope this video helps you a lot. Thanks everyone. For more such videos, please and please feel free to subscribe our channel.